in case we have anybody late who pops on.
Yes.
All right.
So we are officially recording.
Excellent.
Where is my, there we go, live on Facebook button.
Leodon, you're first, just a heads up. And we're live?
Just a sec.
Oh, you're fine.
I have to put in the group always right there. All right. Yeah, a couple more minutes.
Oh,
it's been a long week.
Someone just asked me for the Zoom link. He lost my email.
I will post the Zoom link.
No, I'll message it to him.
Okay. Okay, so we're officially Facebook Live, except not quite. So give it just a minute.
I just need the link then.
Yep. And oh my God, kitten, please stop.
Cats always have to get in the way. I can see it live on Facebook.
Yes, we are officially live on the Midrealm page.
Yay!
Is there a link?
There isn't. I don't know how to share this, Hilla.
Can you copy and paste it?
All I can do is share it. I'm going to share it as my own post. And then it's on my timeline if you want to go to my timeline.
All right. This is going to be interesting.
It's fine.
Okay.
All right, we are live. So now, welcome everyone who is joining us for the August Midrealm virtual Bardic Showcase. This is very exciting. This month's theme is war. So we have a lot of participants, a lot of performers for you this evening. I'm very excited about everyone's piece that they're going to be providing. So to get us started, we have the lovely Leodon who's going to get the ball rolling. So Leodon, if you would, I see you've unmuted yourself. Take it away.
Thanks. This is a brand new song. 3 people in the world have heard it, so all y'all get to be number 4. I was out running and a song came up on my track, and it was Mary Chapin Carpenter singing Jubilee, which is about the fervor that you feel when you go to these revival meetings. And I'm listening to these lyrics thinking, you know, I could do something different with this. So I did. We can tell by the way you're walking, you're a wee berry of what's in store. You've heard all the stories of battle and glory, and you're hoping it's all that and more. Strangers welcome you home at the troll gate. Your medallion gets you out the door. You've a campsite to find, and it's blowing your mind, and we call it Penzic War. And we can tell by the way you're talking, you're unused to milady and lord, but you give it a try with a shrug and a sigh, and a bow with a flourishing sword. You set out with a Penzic U schedule, crammed with classes from morning till 4. Then you trudge back to camp, find some food and a lamp, and the bog down at Penzic War. And we can tell by your startled expression that you were not expecting to hear your name in the throat of a herald at court as he summons you forth in your fear. Who have never been in court before, and the queen of the land puts a mug in your hand, and she welcomes you to Penzic War. We can tell by the way that you're limping that the bootmaker will be your friend. There's a look of pale fright, but you're itching to fight. When the roar of the battle descends, there are cannons and drums and siege engines, and you're cheering like never before to see foes hug their friends and then fight 'em again. Resurrect, it's the Pennsic War. We can tell by the way that you're swaying to the songs and the drums in the night that you've let go your fears and you're comfortable here under stars in the glow of firelight. And you're sunburned and aching and weary, but you stay awake just wanting more, till the sense in your head leads your feet to your bed. Dawn comes early at Pennsic War. And we can tell by the way you're standing, with your eyes overflowing with tears. It was habit alone that kept you from your home, but you now know your home is right here. When you feel that it's all overwhelming, you're a boat navigating new shores. You were scanning the night for a friend with a light, and you landed at Pennsic War. Oh, you landed at Pennsic War, where the people who love you are gathered, lifting pints at the Drunken Duck Bar. Peace and war weeks are done, though we've barely begun to have fun at the Pennsic War. But your new and old friends will return here in 1 year from the town run before. When we look back and say those were halcyon days, we're talking about Pennsic War. Oh, we're talking about Pennsic War.
Well, that just made me miss Pennsic so much.
I got my Pennsic, my unPennsic t-shirt in the mail today. It was kind of
Oh.
cool. Dragons have masks on.
Perfect timing, huh? Well, thank you so much for joining us and for providing your piece to us. It was really delightful. Our next performer is Tommaso. And so if you are able to unmute yourself and take it away. Here he comes.
Sorry, we left our kitchen fan on. So in the Middle Kingdom Bardic community, we have a tradition called toot someone else's horn. And today I'm going to toot the horn of my father, who was the first person who ever told a story to me like this one. If you study the guitar, you're naturally going to be studying the history of the Iberian Peninsula. That's where the guitar came from. The earliest, the word guitar is a Spanish word. A lot of the details of the construction of the guitar are actually reflective of the fact where, you know, the Moors built these bowl-shaped instruments. And as soon as the vihuela and the guitar were invented right around the same time, they were rectangular, just like every guitar you see to this very day. So just the fact that guitars are rectangular in cross-section is related to war. So, and this is a place that had many wars over the centuries. And one of the more interesting pieces is in the border region between France and Spain lived the Basques. And the Basques are very curious people. They speak a language that is related to no other language in Europe. And because they inability to communicate and many other reasons, they've always been at war with their neighbors to the north and the south. So this concerns a battle that took place between the Basques and the predecessors of the French, the Gauls. And at early stages of the battle, the Basques were in fact winning, which was unusual for them. And they had driven the retreating French into a box canyon. So what the Basques did, what any good student of war that the Roman influence did is they set up a siege works and a fortification along the mouth of the canyon, and they were just going to wait until the Gauls starved. But the Gaul scouts discovered that there was a pass coming around to the backside. So what they did is they sent half of their army around through this pass, and took them many hours and was very difficult, but they managed to get themselves, so they were surrounding the Basques on both sides. And at a moment that they had chosen, they attacked simultaneously from both sides and utterly defeated the Basques and brought them under French suppression. I think at that time was a good 150 years before they rose up again. And I think the very important lesson that we can learn from this story is don't put all your Basques in one exit. You should have known it was going to be a dad joke.
Oh my gosh, you definitely got us. Well, thank you so much for that. A little bit of history and a pun at the end, an awful pun, but it was still a pun, so we appreciate it. Our next performer is Bredalwyn, whom we all know and love. Bredalwyn, if you would please unmute yourself and take it away.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm doing a piece that's attributed to Taliesin. I've shortened it somewhat because of time. It's the Battle of the Trees. I was in a multitude of forms before I was unfettered. I was a slender mottled sword made from the hand. I was a droplet in the air. I was the stellar radiance of the stars. I was a word in writing. I was a book in my prime. I was the light of a lantern for a year and a half. I was the bridge standing over 70 estuaries. I was a path. I was an eagle. I was a coracle on the seas. I was effervescence in a drink. I was a raindrop in a shower. I was a sword in the hand. I was a shield in battle. I was a string and a harp under enchantment for 9 years and foam in water. I was a tinder spark in a fire. I was a tree in a conflagration. I am not one who does not sing. I have sung from infancy. I sang from the treetops before the ruler of Britain. I pierced the stall-fed horses of the one wealthy in fleets. I pierced a great scaled beast. There were 100 heads on him and a fierce battalion beneath the root of his tongue. And another battalion is in each of his napes. A black forked toad, 100 claws on him, a speckled crested snake, 100 souls on account of their sins are tortured in its flesh. I was in the fort at Nevenhere. Herbage and trees were attacking. Poets were singing. Soldiers were attacking. A resurgence for the Britons was affected by Gwydion. He called upon the gods. By means they answered him of language and materials of the earth. Fashion majestic trees, 100 forces in a host, and impede the vigorous one, the wealthy battle dispenser. When the trees were conjured up, came an unexpected source of hope. The trees hewed down the enemy by means of their powerful tendrils. They were attacking around the armies for 30 days of battle. Sorely groaned a woman, and lamentation broke forth. At the head of the line, Alder was at the head. Struck first, Willow and Rowan were slow joining the army. Spiky Blackthorn, eager for slaughter, the skillful meddler tree and anticipator of battle, Rose advanced against a wrathful host. Raspberry took action. He did not make a defensive palisade in order to protect his life. Privet and Honeysuckle and Ivy, despite his appearance, how fiercely did they go into the fray. Cherry made a commotion. Birch, despite his great intention, was slow to put on armor, not because of his cowardice, but rather because of his greatness. Goldenrod maintained his resolve. Foreigners were foreign torrents, pine in the place of honor, contention in the shape of branches. Ash brought magnificent deeds before princes. Elm, despite his wealth, did not veer a foot. He slashed the center of the army and the wing and the rear. Hazel adjudged the weapons for the conflict. Blessed Dogwood, bull of battle, lord of the fray. Beech flourished, holly grew verdant. He was present in battle. Whitethorn, the skillful, Whitethorn, the famous, dispensing pestilence from his hand. Vine, the destroyer, hewed in the fray. Bracken, the pillager. Broom, in the van of the battalion, was wounded in the churned up ground. Gorse was not fortunate, but despite that, he was marshaled. Heather, the famous victor, was enchanted into the army, was a pursuer also. Oak, swift of shout, heaven and earth trembled before him. Woad, a brave warrior, his name in a tablet. The attack of the sickly tree caused terror. He would repulse. He repulsed and stabbed others. Pear wrought oppression on the battlefield. A terrifying array was the surging clover, bashful chestnut, an opponent in the ranks of strong trees. Black as jet, rounded as a mountain, armed is the stag, armed are the trees, swifter are the great seas, since I heard the battle cry. Top of the birch put forth leaves for us, its vigor reinforced us. Top of the oak ensnared us by means of Melverue's song. Laughing one, the sea wave that covers the rock, is like a lord who takes no account of the show. It is not from a mother and father that I was made, and my creation was created for me from 9 forms of consistency, from fruit, from fruits, from the gods' fruits in the beginning, from primroses, from the blossoms and flowers, from the blossoms of trees and shrubs, from earth and from sod was I made.
Thank you, Bredlin, so much for joining us today and for participating.
Thank
It's
you.
always so wonderful to have you join us. I think you've participated in every single one we've done so far.
I hope so.
I think you have. So
Thank
you
you.
might just have to get a gold star at the end of the.
Oh, I would like a blue one
Okay.
in honor of my father.
Okay. All right, we'll see.
Taliesin meaning bright brown.
Excellent. Well,
Okay.
thank you again. Our next performer is Rudaba El Nadia. So, Rudaba, if you would please unmute yourself and take it away.
Hello, thank you. I come from the Shire of Croston up here in the west, and I bring you Croston in combat. Marching forth, keep this in core. French dances I much adore. Peace remains in brawl of war. Peace. War. Peace starts with 8 doubles. War starts with 2 doubles. Peace starts with 8 doubles. War starts with 2 doubles. 2 singles, double left. 2 singles, double right. 1 single, 3 kicks, and a jump. Peace. 8 doubles. War 2 doubles. 2 singles, double left. 2 singles, double right. 1 single, 3 kicks, and a jump. Balance, Captain, get the gun. Battle, shots, boom, bodies, fun. Word of Flavor, lines of fun.
And I always say this on every single showcase that we've done so far. So this is the 4th time I'm saying it, but for all of the viewers at home, you can't see the gallery view like I can. And so after everyone performs, it's just this tiny windows of all of the performers going, yay! It's always so wonderful. Thank you, Rudaba, for joining us and for performing. I truly appreciate it. And I'm a little jealous of the sunshine you have right now, but it's dark over here. So. Our next performer is Matthias Håkansson. So Matthias, if you would please unmute yourself and take it away.
Hello, thank you. Yeah, Matthias Håkansson in Barony of Angels in lovely downtown Kaid. Angels, we put the A in Kaid. In honor of war, the spirit of war, I'm going to do a piece I feel is very triumphant and very moving. This is an original composition done in some of the early Ars Nova, Ars Subtilor music of France as instrumental music started becoming more complicated and really broke away from being rather simplistic or just backing up vocalists. Instrumental music really began to take on a life of its own in the late 1100s and 1200s. This is a piece that reflects some of that new innovation in rhythm and use of temperament and everything. This is a piece called Vox Clamantis, the voice crying out.
Oh, that was
Hey, thank you, thank
awesome.
you.
No, thank you. That had my head bobbing. I was going around. I was like dancing a little bit, you know. That was great. Thank you so much for joining us from all the
Thank
way from
you.
Kaid. And that's one of the things I truly appreciate about, this is such a weird time that we're all living through. But silver lining is that we're able to bring people together from across the known world, which is really a fantastic way of sharing our camaraderie. And having all these different performers, that we wouldn't be able to see otherwise, because they most likely wouldn't be at our events here in Kingdom. So I truly appreciate at least getting to experience this, even though I miss seeing all of your faces in person and or hugging every human being in sight. Our next performer is Seafred. So Seafred, if you would please unmute yourself and take it away.
Yep, sure. So yeah, I'm coming back to the Middle Kingdom. I'm in Red Spears. So I'm gonna sing a song about the Fourth Crusade. And the Fourth Crusade was one of the, well, let's go more problematic. That the leader died before they left. They ended up having to deal with Venetians to get boats just to get someplace. And instead of making it all the way to Jerusalem, they ended up sacking Constantinople. So, and getting in trouble with the Pope. So, not exactly a successful crusade by some measures, but it was the start of the Latin Kingdom in Constantinople. Oh, the counts of France and Flanders have taken up the cross. To free Jerusalem they go, and I bravely follow my sins to absolve. I'm riding in the service of the Marshal of Champagne. The Venetian Doge agrees to lend us aid for our cause and for our gold. But our allies, though they keep not the faith, and gold for our passage we must raise. Prince Alexius of the Greeks, he will give us land and gold, if we but return him to his throne. Before the Frankish host and the nation flee, Constantinople's walls they do fall. But the Greek king, oh, he keeps not his word, and again Constantinople we do siege. Now the Greek emperor, he is taken in flight, and now a Count of Flanders is emperor in New Rome. So now we stay in the city of New Rome, to hold these lands for our king. And fair Jerusalem I will not see, for now we got the lands of our new home. Yes, now we got the lands of New Rome.
Thank you so much, Siegfried. Thank you for joining us and for giving us that beautiful piece. There's some comments going on the back end between all the performers, and someone was saying, well, now it's Istanbul, and I'm like, no, it's always Constantinople in my heart. That's the Orthodox coming out of me. But I'm also always enamored by people who can play a musical instrument and sing at the same time, so thank you so much for joining us. Our next performer is Aldre Dais Maria, and I'm sorry I'm butchering your names even though you gave me pronunciation guides. But Aldreda, if you would please unmute yourself and take it away.
Thank you very much. This is a song that I just found out might not be about an individual, but about an every woman of all the women of Beauvais who helped hold off the siege. Raise up your sword, oh bring the axe down, send soldier and standard to fall to the ground. Freedom is worth all the struggle and sweat, step up to the battle like Jean Hachette. I was working high up the cathedral's walls when a crow made me look with its squabbling cause. I was watching the hills as the bird flapped and crowed, when out of the west the Burgundians rode. King Louis and Charles Duke Burgundy fought over cities and towns that King Louis had bought. Charles sent men out to pillage and slay. They set up their tents and laid siege to Beauvais. Raise up your sword, oh bring the axe down, send soldier and standard to fall to the ground. Freedom is worth all the struggle and sweat, step up to the battle like Jean Hachette. It was June 27th and spirits were low, and the siege ladder spanning the moat down below. The Duke's greater numbers were winning the day. A soldier with a standard topped the walls of Beauvais. A farm girl just 16 named Jean Lenay grabbed up a hatchet and entered the fray. With vigor and will cut the enemy down, sent soldier and standard the ground. Raise up your sword, oh, bring the axe down, send soldier and standard to fall to the ground. Freedom is worth all the struggle and sweat. Step up to the battle like Jean Hachette. The men cheered the girl and their spirits soared high. If she could do that, they'd more strength to try. The townsfolk and guards rallied as the sun set. They jumped into battle like Jean Hachette. The battle raged on and the garrison strived. Next morning the king's reinforcements arrived. Each June 27th will march through the town to remember la jeune fille that kept the siege down. Raise up your sword, oh, bring the axe down, send soldier and standard to fall to the ground. Freedom is worth all the struggle and sweat. Step up to the battle like Jean Hachette. The king gave her gold and a man and a fete, for Jean Lené fought and became Jean Hachette. A hatchet indeed, one that Charles would rue. Her stroke cut Duke Burgundy's triumph in two. A woman can make the determining blow, but you can't make a difference if you don't go. There's strength in great numbers, although that is true. Just one makes a difference, let that one be you. Raise up your sword, oh, bring the axe down, send soldier and standard to fall to the ground. Freedom is worth all the struggle and sweat. Step up to the battle like Jean Hachette. Lift up your voices for Jean Hachette. Fight for your sisters like Jean Hachette. Thank you.
Yay, thank you. And thank you so much for participating with us this evening. Our next performer is Hilla, which I think many of you know. And Hilla, before you get started, I just want to give a little shout out to her. Hilla has tirelessly worked this since June to put on the Ethereal Bardic Symposium, which, if you didn't know, this is part of, and it's happening all weekend long. In fact, they decided they wanted to have more fun, and they got started last night with a class. So I just shared the event on Facebook on my own page. I just want everyone to check it out because there's some amazing classes that she was able to get going, some other amazing Bardic opportunities that are out there, and it's going through Sunday. So it's just a fantastic option for the Midrealm and for our friends outside of the Midrealm, and Hilla has done all of it. So anyways, without further ado, Hilla, if you would please unmute yourself and take it away.
Thank you. Thank you for that lovely introduction. So I decided, I've been working on a song for a year. And so I decided what better incentive than, so apparently what I need to do to get unstuck from a song is to just create a whole new event, because that's the only way that this actually got finished. So this is a Midrealm war song. From South Oak into the Midlands, hear the harp strings thrum, hear the war horn sounding, calling, listen, leave. Let me start that again. This is only the second time I've performed this. From South Oak into the Midlands, hear the harp strings thrum, hear the war horn sounding, calling, leave now where you're from. In our footsteps, hear the echoes beating like a drum. To the crown we swore our oath, so come, Midrealm, come. Raise the banner to the sky, red and green and white on high. Loose the dragon, let it fly, the Midrealm goes to war. Archers steady, loose the bowstring, guide the arrows flight. Steel on steel, the rapiers flashing, wicked is their bite. Make you ready, form the shield wall strong throughout the fight. Hearts are beating proudly, proudly, prove the Midrealm's might. Raise the banner to the sky, red and green and white on high. Loose the dragon, let it fly, the Midrealm goes to war. Smith and bowyer, tanner, weaver, listen to the call. Cook and tailor, water bearer, those who serve us all. Though you may not take up weapons, with us you stand tall. Know that when we band together, we shall never fall. Raise the banner to the sky, red and green and white on high. Loose the dragon, let it fly, the Midrealm goes to war. Shield the weak, uplift the burden, guard against the wrong. Lift your hearts, O boon companions, though the fight is long. Side by side we draw our swords, and side by side are strong. Heed the words and join the chorus, join us in our song. Raise the banner to the sky, red and green and white on high. Loose the dragon, let it fly, the Midrealm goes to war. Raise the banner to the sky, red and green and white on high. Loose the dragon, let it fly. The Midrealm goes to war.
Yay! Well, I am so glad that we had the opportunity to push you to write a song. In fact, there's someone else who wrote a song specifically for this. She wasn't able to perform, so I have a video that I'll play later. But I just love that with these themes, people are getting their creative juices going and coming up with some really neat stuff. So thank you so much for performing and for participating tonight and for putting on the entire Ethereal Bardic Symposium. Our next performer is Elsbeth. And Elsbeth, if you would please unmute yourself and take it away.
Oh, good evening, everyone. I hope everyone's doing well. I apologize, first of all. I have suffered from bronchitis for about 3 weeks, so I'm still kind of scratchy. So, and the song that I have is kind of upbeat, so I'm hoping I can get through it with enough air. Since I am from Onsteora, of course, I have to do an Onsteoran war song, and this is called the Onsteoran line. I really like it. It's kind of upbeat and fun. On any known world battlefield, an army finds its fate is sealed, and will know that they must die or yield before the Onsteoran line. Let all who face our might today and try to keep our swords at bay be the next to join the dead who lay along the Onsteoran line, and cry vivat for the heroes of old. Cry vivat for the new ones too, and cry vivat for the black and gold, and the star that shines when hearts are true. And whenever for honor's field we fight, our kingdom banner sweeps the sky, and we'll know we'll win or bravely die within the Onsteoran line. For never when our spears were set, never when our shield walls met, have our foemen failed to pay the debt unto the Onsteoran line. And cry vivat for the heroes of old, cry vivat for the new ones too, and cry vivat for the black and gold, and the star that shines when hearts are true. And for every fallen friend we must fulfill for them this warrior's trust. A dozen foes shall bite the dust before the Onsteoran line. So fling your war flag to the sky, vivat the star, your battle cry, and fight till the blood floats knee-cap high around the Onsteoran line. And cry vivat for the heroes of old, cry vivat for the new ones too, and cry vivat for the black and gold, the star that shines when hearts are true. So on any known world battlefield, an army finds its fate is sealed, and they know that they must die or yield before the Onsteoran line. So flame your war flag to the sky, Vivat the star, our battle cry, and fight till the blood floats knee-cap high. Around beyond, stay or in line, and cry Vivat for the heroes of old. Cry Vivat for the new ones too, and cry Vivat for the black and gold, the star that shines when hearts are true, and cry Vivat for the heroes of old. Cry Vivat for the new ones too, and cry Vivat for the black and gold, and the star that shines when hearts are true.
Yay. Well, I'm so glad you joined us, even with battling bronchitis, as you said. You're a true trooper for joining us, and I'm so glad that you were able to do so. That was wonderful. So just to give everybody an idea, we're about halfway through. So we have 8 more wonderful performers, and our next performer is Nikolai. So Nikolai, if you would please unmute yourself and take it away.
Thank you, Sergeant. I always feel like the odd man out, surrounded by such talented musicians and performers, but there appears to be a segment of the population that enjoys wacky Russian fairy tales as much as I do. So here is one that is very much about war. It is called Foma Berenikov. Once upon a time, there lived an old woman who had a one-eyed son named Foma Berenikov. One day he went to plow his field with his wretched horse. He was suddenly overcome by misery and sat down on a mound of earth to ease himself. The flies buzzed and buzzed around the dung. He seized the twig, beat the swarm of flies, and began to count how many he had killed. He counted 500 of them, and many of them were still uncounted. Foma decided they were numberless. He came to his horse and found 12 gadflies sitting on it. He slew them all. Then he returned to his mother and asked her for her solemn blessing. I have slain countless small fry, he said, and 12 mighty heroes. Let me go forth, mother, to do great deeds, for plowing the land is not a hero's business, but a peasant's. His mother gave him her blessing, praying that he might do great deeds and carry out heroic exploits. He hung his best basket at his girdle, took his blunt scythe off his shoulders, and placed it in his basket. He traveled along the road in unfamiliar country till he came to a post, and he wrote with chalk on this post, for although he had neither gold nor silver in his pocket, he did happen to have some chalk. He wrote, Champion Foma Berenikov, who slew 12 mighty heroes at one blow, and an unnumbered army in addition, passed this way. Having written this, he went on. Ilya Muromets traveled along the same road, came to the post, beheld the inscription, and said, Here is the champion's mark. He does not spend gold nor silver, only chalk. And he wrote in silver, following Foma Berenikov, champion Ilya Muromets passed this way. He overtook Foma Berenikov and said, apparently the chalk inscription had impressed him, Mighty Foma Berenikov, where shall I ride? In front of you or behind you? Ride behind me, answered Foma. Young Alusha Popovich traveled the same road. He came to the same post and from afar saw an inscription blazing like fire on the post. He read the inscriptions of Foma Berenikov and Ilya Muromets, drew pure gold from his pocket and wrote, following Ilya Muromets, Alusha Popovich passed this way. He overtook Ilya Muromets and said, Tell me, Ilya Muromets, shall I ride in front of you or behind you? Ask not me, but my elder brother, Foma Berenikov. Young Alusha Popovich rode up to Foma Berenikov. Brave Foma Berenikov, where shall I ride? Ride behind us. They traveled along the road in unfamiliar country till they came to green gardens. Ilya Muromets and Alusha Popovich pitched their white tents, and Foma Berenikov spread his pair of drawers. These gardens belonged to the Prussian king, and the Chinese king, aided by 6 mighty champions, was at that time waging war on the Prussian king. And the Prussian king sent a letter to Foma Berenikov saying, The Chinese king is waging war against me, the Prussian king. Will you aid me? Foma was not strong in the art of reading. He gazed at the letter, shook his head, and said, Very well. The Chinese king approached the city. Ilya Meremetz and young Alusha Popovich came to Foma Berenikov and spoke these words. They are attacking the king, approaching his city. We must defend him. Will you go yourself or send us? You shall go, Alusha Meremetz. Ilya Meremetz slew all the attackers. Then the Chinese king sent forth his 6 champions and an unnumbered host of troops. Ilya Meremetz and Alusha Popovich came to Foma Berenikov saying, tell us, Foma, will you go yourself or will you send us? You shall go, Alusha Popovich, my young brother. Young Alusha Popovich rode forth and slew the host of troops and the 6 mighty champions. The Chinese king said, I have still another champion whom I have till now kept for breeding purposes. Now I will let him fight too. So he brought an unnumbered host of troops and with them his secret mighty champion. And the king said to him, the Russian champion beat us not by force, but by cunning. Now do everything that the Russian champion does. Ilya Meremetz and young Alusha Popovich came to Foma Berenikov asking, will you go yourself or will you send us? I shall go myself. Bring me my horse. The champion's horses were grazing in the open field, and Foma stood nearby eating oats. Ilya Meremetz came to Foma's horse, and it began to rear and snap. Ilya Meremetz grew angry, took Foma's horse by the tail, and flung him across the hedge. Young Alusha Popovich said to him, did not Foma Berenikov see us? He will punish us for this. Apparently his strength is not in his horse, but in himself, said Ilya Meremetz, and brought the wretched nag to Foma Berenikov. Foma bestrode the horse and thought to himself, let them kill me. It won't be all at once. He rode forward, bending down to the horse's mane and blinking his eyes. The Chinese champion, remembering the king's instruction, also bent down to his horse's mane and blinked. Foma got off his horse, sat on a stone, and began to sharpen his scythe. The Chinese champion, too, got off his mighty horse and began to sharpen his sword. He saw that Foma Berenikov was one-eyed and thought, he has closed one eye. I will be even trickier and close both eyes. He had no sooner closed his eyes than Foma Berenikov caught off his head. Foma took the champion's mighty steed, tried to mount it, but could not. So Foma tied the mighty steed to a 100-year-old oak, climbed up the tree, and leaped upon the steed. As soon as the steed felt a rider on his back, he rushed forward, tearing out the oak with its roots. He galloped with all his mighty strength, dragging the enormous oak after him. Foma Berenikov cried, help, help! But the Chinese did not know the Russian language and took fear to their heels. The mighty horse trampled them under his hooves and smote them with the 100-year-old oak. He slew them all to the last man. Now the Chinese king wrote a letter to Foma Berenikov saying, never again shall I wage war against you. That promise was just what Foma wanted. Ilya Meremetz and young Alusha Popovich marveled at Foma Berenikov. Now Foma went to the Prussian king. What shall I reward you with? Asked the king. Take as much gold from my treasury as you will, or half my glorious kingdom, or my beautiful daughter. Give me the beautiful daughter, Foma replied, and invite to the wedding my younger brothers, Ilya Meremetz and young Alusha Popovich. And Foma Berenikov married the beautiful princess. Thus, not only mighty men have luck, he who shouts loudest about himself fares best.
We love weird Russian stories so much. Thank you for providing us that strange tale. Our next performer is Saiv Ingen Dankada. So Saiv, if you would please unmute yourself and take it away.
Hello, Saiv Ingen Dankada. Sorry, it's all good. I'm going to sing a song about a man who bravely goes off to war and his inspiration that drives him while he's there. At the age of 16, I crossed the wide ocean to take arms and stand 'neath the flag of my king. And there on my belt hung the veil of a lady, still salted with tears and the promise they bring. She said, come back to me, though the whole world you travel. Win through each day and do honor for me, and let every victory you claim be a token. Return to my arms, your true love I will be. For 6 months or longer I journeyed to find them, an army assembled like nothing I'd seen. 10,000 men stood by the banks of the river, with armor of sunlight and swords battle keen. I joined in the ranks of a stalwart battalion. My captain stood shoulder to shoulder with me. Though he fell, I fought through her veil as my armor, and for her in battle I gained victory. She said, come back to me, though the whole world you travel. Win through each day and do honor for me, and let every victory you claim be a token. Return to my arms, your true love I will be. Promotion was mine through both luck and attrition. The king made me captain, a knight soon to be. If I could but win him, the city we cordoned, I won it for him, but 'twas her victory. A decade passed by in the blink of an instant. A full knight commander bestowed upon me. My company rode 'neath the high king's own banner, above it the favor of my own lady. She said, come back to me, though the whole world you travel. Win through each day and do honor for me, and let every victory you claim be a token. Return to my arms, your true love I will be. And then the wars ended, and we journeyed homeward. Estates were now mine in 5 countries or more. That rag on my belt was 1,000 times mended. I came home to her to forget about war. She stood in the doorway as if she were waiting. Her sons 9 and 7, a daughter of 3. She smiled as she stared at me, trying to remember the boy and the veil and her promise to me. She'd said, come back to me, though the whole world you travel. Win through each day and do honor for me, and let every victory you claim be a token. Return to my arms, your true love I will be. I left her bewildered with gifts for her children. Her eyes had changed colors in 10 years, it seems, for hers were the gray of that mother and housewife, and not the blue ocean I held in my dreams. I joined then my king as he rode forth to battle, to fight a new war in some land or the sea. He asked of my lady and of the worn favor, and smiled as I told him of her words to me. She said, come back to me, though the whole world you travel. Win through each day and do honor for me, and let every victory you claim be a token. Return to my arms, your true love I will be. So now we return to the battle and bloodshed. My men call her name as we join in the fray. I'll see her forever through veils of my dreaming, and still it's for her I will win through this day. She said, come back to me, though the whole world you travel. Win through each day and do honor for me, and let every victory you claim be a token. Return to my arms, your true love I will be. That girl in my dreams is still waiting for me.
Bravo. Well sung. I love, love, love that song. And a lot of people in the chat are talking about how that's such a great song. So thank you so much for bringing that to us today, for sharing it with us, and your lovely voice. I've never heard you sing before, so thank you. I'm so glad that you participated with us this evening. Our next performer is Brendan O'Corey. So Brendan, if you would please unmute yourself and take it away.
Thank you very much. It's wonderful to be here in such august and far-flung company. I'd like to give you a piece by an old friend of mine, Master Don Robin of Gilwell. Elsbeth, I believe you may know the good Master Don. This is called The Baron. The Baron was a fighting man. He knew the ways of war. The blood and death and carnage he'd seen many times before. He knew how many men must die for battles to be won. So, coldly counting up the cost, he did what must be done. He led his army off to war, and never did a trace of feeling or emotion ever show upon his face. The Baron was at table when the awful summons came. There were raiders on the border putting villages to flame. The women they were ravishing, the men and boys enslaved, save those who had resisted. They met an early grave. The Baron stood expressionless and then addressed the hall, saying, "Let there be a summons for my knights and levies all. Put off your pleasant pastimes, put on your armor bright, fetch your swords and shields, for the time is come to fight." A host was soon assembled and quickly put to order in rank behind their Baron, and went marching to the border. For the Baron was a fighting man. He knew the ways of war, the blood and death and carnage he'd seen many times before. He knew how many men must die for battles to be won. So coldly counting up the cost, he did what must be done. He led his army off to war, and never did a trace of feeling or emotion ever show upon his face. As they approached the border, they spied a squalid hut, a rat-infested hovel with a door that wouldn't shut. It looked deserted, but in back a boy was pitching hay. "Ho, lad, and fetch your father. We have need of him today." From the hut came cackled laughter in a voice no longer young, from a dirty peasant woman with a saucy peasant's tongue. "You cannot take his father, lord. You did that once before. 12 years ago you took my husband with you off to war. That day you killed my husband," said the old and bitter crone. "Since then, no man nor weapon has this wretched hovel known." The Baron said, 12 years it was? Well, that's old enough, I'd say. Come, lad, and bring that pitchfork. May it serve you well today." Oh, the peasant woman cursed and screeched, cursed and cried again, but no peasant wins an argument with scores of armored men. "Oh, woman, step aside! We quickly must away! It's your protection, too, that we battle for today." So when the Baron rode away, one member of his band was a boy in tattered clothing with a pitchfork in his hand. For the Baron was a fighting man. He knew the ways of war, the blood and death and carnage he'd seen many times before. He knew how many men must die for battles to be won. So coldly counting up the cost, he did what must be done. He led his army off to war, and never did a trace of feeling or emotion ever show upon his face. All day the woman sat alone. At times she tried to pray, but cursed instead the evil fate that took her son away. All day she waited for the news she knew would come that night. She knew that peasant boys will die when noble men must fight. So as the light was fading and the host again drew near, the sight of it brought no relief, but only dread and fear. She knew the knights would ride on by, the battle being done, but perhaps some footman in the rear might stop and tell her of her son. So when the mounted fighters stopped, it left her feeling weak, and then the Baron himself upon his palfrey trotted up to speak. "Your son fought very bravely. Though he had no skill nor strength, he wielded well his weapon like a man. Until, at length, a spearman galloped forward, taking aim at my own breast. Your son leapt up to block the spear, caught it in the chest. The blow he took was meant for me. He bravely met his death defending me. In battle grim and with his dying breath said, "Someone tell my mother of this deed that I have done. So I have come to pay the debt I owe your worthy son." The woman shrieked, "As if it matters how the boy was killed!" Her curses grew more piercing, her shrieking grew more shrill. The Baron said, "Be silent, stop this squeaking like a mouse. Console yourself. Your son has brought great honor to your house." Brought honor to a hovel made of sticks and caked with mud. What use have I for honor that was bought with my son's blood? If I've been so well protected, then why is everything I cherished now lost to me forever? For man and boy are perished. No comfort could he offer, for of comfort there is none, for a lonely, aged widow who's lost her only son. The Baron sat expressionless and slowly turned to go. No trace of joy or sorrow did his granite features show. Well, they had won the battle. Though many lives were lost, the land was once again secure, despite the grisly cost. For the Baron was a fighting man. He knew the ways of war, the blood and death and carnage he'd seen many times before. He knew how many men must die for battles to be won. So coldly, counting up the cost, he did what must be done. He led his army off to war, and never did a trace of feeling or emotion ever show upon his face. The peasants, serfs, and yeomen all went home to tend their beasts, while the knights and nobles all held a celebration feast. The Baron then rewarded all his vassals, as was right, and he gave out many treasures. One man was made a knight. His duty done, the Baron left his feast hall and his throne, and to the castle armory the Baron came alone. Once more he took his armor down and laid it out to see. He picked his battered breastplate up and set it on his knee. 5 dents he counted on it, for 5 spears had struck him hard. The 6th, of course, had left no mark. That boy had been his guard. A boy who nothing knew of war, or weapons, or of plate. Who boldly, bravely, uselessly leapt to meet his fate. The Baron was a fighting man. He knew the ways of war, the blood and death and carnage he'd seen many times before. He knew how many men must die for battles to be won. So, coldly, counting up the cost, he did what must be done. He led his army off to war, and never did a trace of feeling or emotion ever show upon his face. All night the Baron sat alone, while all his vassals slept, and with his breastplate on his knee, the Baron sat and wept.
Thank you so much, Corey, for
Brendan.
giving us. Brendan, I'm sorry. Oh my gosh, my brain. Facebook.
Corey's on my birth certificate.
Thank you for giving us that story. It's a good one, and a lot of people are commenting at how much they love that. So thank you for participating this evening. Our next performer is, this is a first for him to participate in one of our Bardic showcases. I hope it's not the last. It's Thomas Vondrill. So Thomas, if you would please unmute yourself and take it away.
Excellent. Thank you, Honor. As you mentioned, I am Thomas Vondrill, Barony of Sternfeld. This next piece was written by a friend of mine, Master Siem Makirker of Aidenvelt. Original arrangement done by himself, Sir Cosimo, and myself, Tonis. It's called Cold October Wind. 'Twas a cold morning in the autumn when we went upon our way, took up arms and kissed the ladies, and their eyes begged us to stay. But a land there is for winning, and the kingdom we defend. So we pick up all our weapons in the cold October wind. Oh, I am John the tailor, and my apologies. Let me back that up. I only forget the songs I write or, perform regularly. Wow. I am truly, truly sorry for the bard fart. We'll correct that.
This. Don't even worry about it. You got this.
Okay.
Blame it on
Can
COVID.
I start over, Honor?
Yes, of course you may. Please.
'Twas a cold morning in the autumn when we went upon our way, took up arms and kissed the ladies, and their eyes begged us to stay. But a land there is for winning, and the kingdom we defend. So we pick up all our weapons in the cold October wind. Oh, I am John the tailor, making clothing is my trade, and I never fought with any, and I never held a blade. But the enemy is marching, and we'll meet them on the field. And though courage it may leave me, I swear I'll never yield, and we'll march through the autumn. Though the winds may howl and roar, and we'll fight to the last man, till we push them to the shore. And the children, they are crying, but the kingdom we defend. So we pick up all our weapons in the cold October wind. Oh, I am Sean Mackenzie. I work the smithy in this town, and I just spent all me earnings on my lady's wedding gown. But the enemy is marching, we can see them cross the field. So we'll meet them in the heather with a clash of sword and shield, and we'll march through the autumn, though the winds may howl and roar, and we'll fight to the last man till we push them to the shore. And the boys, they are all frightened, but the kingdom we defend. So we'll meet them and we'll battle in the cold October wind. Oh, I'm Simon, I'm a minstrel, and I'm good with word and song. And I'll drink with any rover, and I'll sing the whole night long. But the enemy is marching, and the time for song is past. So I pray my lassie hears me as I sing my very last, and we'll march through the autumn, though the winds may howl and roar, and we'll fight to the last man till we push them to the shore. And the soldiers, they are dying, but the kingdom we defend. Till the last of us has fallen in the cold October wind, and our army lies in ruin, and I cannot say who lost, for we kept them from our homeland. Dear God, what the cost? But the enemy was marching, and the kingdom we defend. Then we gather up our dying in the cold October wind, and we'll march through the autumn, though the winds may howl and roar, and we'll fight to the last man till we push them to the shore. When the enemy comes calling, 'tis our homeland we defend. Then we march back to our families in the cold October wind.
That was wonderful and so powerful. Thank you so much for participating. I'm so glad that you joined us this evening.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Absolutely. Our next performer is a visitor from the East Kingdom, Drake Orenwood. So Drake, if you would please unmute yourself and take it away.
Thank you very much, Honor. It's great to share a space with you once again. So I only have a few pieces on the topic of war, and one of them, I just feel after what Brendan shared earlier, it would be redundant. So I'm going to switch to a different one. Watching your realm descend into war is a horrifying and sickening sensation. The reasons that a land cleaves itself that way are many, and it always seems new, and yet the reasons also seem very old. This is a relatively new piece that I composed and first performed earlier this year. And it retells some tales from their Arthurian legend. Some crucial backstory that led to the fall of Camelot. Will you hearken awhile, for I must speak of Gareth, my brother, my teacher, my friend, of the youngest and best of the four brothers Orkney. But all stories come to an end. He inquired once, Gawain, will you do me a service? My friend here needs somewhere to stay. It was Brangwyn, the handmaid of princesses old. I had heard she'd been stolen away. Please, Gawain, keep her safe from all eyes, I implore you. I said, Gareth, what's this affair? For what business should knights keep young women in hiding? He cut off my words with a glare. Are we chivalry's legends? Read closely the tale. In the margins it shows if we thrive or we fail. Dear Gawain, eldest brother, I prize and adore. You will learn that as knights we owe more. What might we hold if we hold the door open? What could we have if a haven we make? If we stand in need and we hold the door open, the might of our table won't break. The might of our table won't break. Brangwyn said, "My Isolde is in love with the young man, but she was to marry a king. So her mother contrived to ensure this alliance, and she took me under her wing. I would pour her a drink that would change Isolde's passion, make her husband king in her eyes. I refused to do wrong to a lady's consent, so she seized me, ignoring my cries. A cold night in the woods might bring me to my senses, so I was left bound to a tree. Palamedes the Saracen came to my aid. He believed me and he set me free. Will you keep Garrett's promise that I won't be caught? Lady Brangwyn, forgive me, I'd given no thought. Sir Gawain, women all, be we servants or wives, should have sovereignty over our lives. What might we hold if we hold the door open? What could we choose with a choice freely ours? If we stand in trust and we hold the door open, our kingdom might shine like the stars. Our kingdom might shine like the stars. So I left her and sought after Sir Palamedes, who each man he faced he'd unseat. But no matter his valor, each tournament day would the Saracen end in defeat. Palamedes, I asked him when we were alone, have you been holding back from your best? He said, one of my color outshining these knights, Sir Gawain, that's a risk I'll not test. Many say that I'm pining for Princess Isolde, but it's Brangwyn who's captured my heart. She accepts me in fullness and gave me her word that my faith would not keep us apart. I said, good Palamedes, a fool have I been, for your chivalry's not in your faith or your skin. When he held Brangwyn close on the day they were wed, I remember the words that he said, what might we hold if we hold the door open? What is it worth if we value each soul? If we stand in truth and we hold the door open, our kingdom might truly be whole. Our kingdom might truly be whole. You recall, Gareth first came to Camelot nameless and served in the kitchen a year. You discovered his virtue and you gave him knighthood. There's more I need you to hear. A few days before Yule, I approached him in private and said, there's a kinship I sense. I could swear you were Gwyneth, my sweet darling sister. What mean you behind this pretense? Oh, Gawain, hear me please, that is my name no longer, for lady nor lord strikes me true. But it's knighthood that calls me. If you keep my secret, then I'll be a brother to you. Thus at Pentecost next our young knight won acclaim, for a place at the table round bore Gareth's name. Oh, we Orkneys, we kept this conspiracy fast, but he idolized you to the last. What might we hold if we hold the door open? What could we dream if we dreamed it for all? If we stand in pride and we hold the door open, Our fellowship, how could it fall? Our fellowship, how could it fall? Some months back, Gareth said, keep your eyes upon Mordred. He's stirring up fear and dissent. I responded, what mean you? He is our half-brother. How can you malign his intent? Brangwyn told me, Gawain, that he laid hands upon her, and when she declared she was wed, Mordred hinted this place knew its share of adultery. A queen might be caught in her bed. Have you heard how he whispers that Saracen blood is a blight with no place in our court? Gareth, Mordred is kin, and the son of King Arthur. I've seen nothing like you report. You must heed me, Gawain. There are those who speak fair, but their words, they are venom. Their questions a snare. They will rise up by fostering division and hate. Don't you see what's at risk if we wait? Who must we hold if we hold the door open? Who of our kind is unkind at the core? If we stand alert and we hold the door open, there are some we must show the door. There are some we must show the door. We arrive, Lancelot, the end of our story. For Gareth, he died at your hand. When you saved Guinevere, you saw not who her guard was, precisely as Mordred had planned. With his death, I fell prey to my grief and my fury, and Arthur I pledged him to war. I know you loved Gareth as dearly as I did. I could not forgive any more. I helped Camelot fall as I sought you in combat, and this wound may cost me my life. Palamedes at last gives the counsel I needed. My brother sought justice, not strife. So I ask Lancelot, will you pledge Gareth's creed? Will you welcome the lost and defend those in need? Will you pass on this mission until your last breath, so our brother knight lives beyond death? What might we hold if we hold the door open? How could we live if we lived what we learned? If we stand in love and we hold the door open, could we see our kingdom returned? What might we hold if we hold the door open? How could the cost not be worth the reward? If we stand in hope and we hold the door open, there may come a day it's restored. There may come a day it's restored.
Wonderful choice, and it fit perfectly, so it must have been your muse telling you to sing that piece instead.
I think so. Thank you.
Thank you so much for singing and for bringing us that beautiful piece. We're getting close to the end, sadly. So our next performer is Avalyn, Inya, Davi. So Avalyn, if you would please unmute yourself and take it away.
Hi everyone, my name is Avalyn Inya Davi. The piece I'll be performing tonight is The War I Wage, which is a piece that I composed for the Gulf Wars Bardic competition several years ago at this point, that asked us to write a song about why we fight. And I am not a fighter, and so this was my response as my persona would have fought in her way. When I was young, my lullaby was the sound of sword and shield, the washing woman's chatter and the cook fire's crackling flame. When I could walk, I earned my keep beside the battlefield. At my mother's side, we tended soldiers caught by archers' aim. I grew up strong, a camp woman, and battled every day to save the soldier's life. 'Twas was I that kept the reaper at bay. I may not fight with axe or steel or wear armor on the field. You may not think I fight, but my own weapons do I wield. I watch the men fall on the field and pray that they will stay alive until I reach their side and their lives I can save. I may look calm upon the field, but I am filled with rage, for I fight to keep your men alive, and that's the war I wage. As light glints off the dew-touched grass, we rise to start the day. While soldiers slowly wake, the women bustle through the tents. Our work begins at dawn to keep the camps from disarray. A sisterhood of care our working women represent. For men can only fight because the women do the chores. For soldiers win the battle, but the women win the wars. I may not fight with axe or steel or wear armor on the field. You may not think I fight, but my own weapons do I wield. I watch the men fall on the field and pray that they will stay alive until I reach their side and their lives I can save. I may look calm upon the field, but I am filled with rage, for I fight to keep your men alive, and that's the war I wage. Some look at me and scoff and say I have no worthwhile place, that women of the camps have just one service we fulfill. But I live each day with honor, and I serve the war with grace. With bandages and practice care, I ply my wartime skills. When men fall down upon the field, I rush to give them aid. It's through my knowledge of my craft that all their lives are saved. I may not fight with axe or steel or wear armor on the field. You may not think I fight, but my own weapons do I wield. I watch the men fall on the field and pray that they will stay alive until I reach their side and their lives I can save. I may look calm upon the field, but I am filled with rage, for I fight to keep your men alive, and that's the war I wage. When battle calls us all to war, I join the rush to fight. With my supplies upon my back, I hurry to the field. I work all through the battle and long into the night. I fight all day to save your lives, and I will never yield. For though I don't use arrows or throw a blow of steel, I fight to keep your men alive. The war I wage is real. I may not fight with axe or steel or wear armor on the field. You may not think I fight, but my own weapons do I wield. I watch the men fall on the field and pray that they will stay alive until I reach their side and their lives I can save. I may look calm upon the field, but I am filled with rage, for I fight to keep your men alive, and that's the war I wage. Yes, I fight to keep your men alive, and that's the war I wage. Thank you.
That's awesome. And that's a really well written song, and I appreciate it because that's a perspective a lot of people don't get. So thank you for bringing that to our evening, and thank you for participating this evening. Our next performer is actually a video because it's multiple performers. It's a choir. It's Flamacorm from the Barony of the Flame. I used to be part of that choir before life told me I couldn't go to choir practice anymore. So I do dearly miss these ladies, and I hope that you enjoy their song as much as I do. And I am about to take it away with their video.
Midrealm, mindful of COVID, we're wearing masks and social distance. Our arts and science flourish boldly. With martial skills we practice at the bell. There is not achieving dread, speeding close, cooking up feast. Strikes with lips, standing scrolls finished. On you, COVID, have no mercy. Midrealm, mindful of COVID.
Yay. Okay, how do I stop sharing my screen? Stop share. There we go. Yay, Fomacorum. So that was a filk that the choir director Isadora wrote to the period song Kinderly. And if you didn't know, one aspect of Kinderly is that it's there's a delay in each part that's singing. So that was actually intentional. So our last performer who's going to just, you know, take us all home is Elise. So Elise, if you would please unmute yourself and take us away.
Everyone seems to love the heroic tale of the bedraggled, badly outnumbered English overcoming the French at the Battle of Agincourt. And this is my take on that battle. A song based on a poem that I wrote many years ago that I adapted into a song last year. The call of war is heard again, young Henry claims our throne, and we seek vengeance for our kin, the English must atone, for French blood spilled at Poitiers, good men at Crecy lost, now we shall have our glory day, let England bear the cost. The eve of battle set upon a field of tents so vast, 70,000 Frenchmen strong for battle here amassed. From o'er the hilltop smoke is seen, the English camp is plain, their bonfires weakly smouldering in cold October rain. The time has come to leave my mark with blood spilled by the sword, and in the distance I can see the towers of Agincourt. The eve of battle set upon, the morning sun is cloaked in mist, but still our armor shines, arrayed as for a tourney list, our knights form up in lines. Dukes and counts and barons in the front make quite a sight, pennants, surcoats, plumes, and lances, colors shining bright. Young Henry surely never saw an enemy so great. He comes to us with peasant men, no coats of mail or plate. Bare-armed archers lead the group, and standing out in front, they built a flimsy palisade they think will bear the brunt. The time has come to leave my mark with blood spilled by the sword, and in the distance I can see the towers of Agincourt. Minutes waiting seem to crawl, with glory now so near. Herald's voice as trumpet calls, the time to charge is here. I spur my horse to action, but his feet stick in the mud. What nonsense holds me back? It's time to shed some English blood. Horses stumble front and back, our knights all packed so tight. There's no room to maneuver now, much less to try and fight. Wounded horses rear and kick, too frightened to control. Riders slip beneath their feet, great hooves then take their toll. The time has come to leave my mark, with blood spilled by the sword. And in the distance I can see the towers of Agincourt. The rain has stopped, but now a new rain plummets from the sky. All around me, men and horses scream out as they die. Our proud knights fall, so many fall, with arrows in their chests. Their armor pierced as easily as eggs in sparrows' nests. Those English peasants, lightly armed, move quickly across the field, while our knight seems so weighted down with armor, sword, and shield. Now the English come at me with cudgels, knives, and spears. I grip my sword, prepared to fight. Their war cries fill my ears. The time has come to leave my mark, with blood spilled by the sword. And in the distance I can see the towers of Agincourt. I raise my sword to block a blow, an axe swings at my head. No room for doubt or error now, one misstep and I'm dead. My sword sings through the air, my foeman stumbles on the hill. The axe slips from his hands and then I move in for the kill. A searing pain shoots down my spine, I stumble to my knees. A blow delivered from behind, the death one never sees. The last thing I behold before the world exists no more are the looming towers over Castle Agincourt. The time has come to leave my mark, with blood spilled by the sword. And in the distance I can see the towers of Agincourt. The time has come to leave my mark, with blood spilled by the sword. And in the distance I can see the towers of Agincourt.
What a wonderful piece to end on. Thank you so much for joining us. I believe this is your first time participating with us as well. So we had quite a few newcomers this time, which makes me so very happy. I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone who participated as a performer. It's not easy to perform for a screen instead of an audience. So, but we thank you to everyone who watches along at home and who's commenting on the Facebook Live page, for giving us, you know, the, oh, that's awesome, and all of that stuff. It means so much to get that feedback, even if we can't see it until after the performance. But it means so much to me that so many people are participating, and it's giving us a way to stay connected, despite the fact that we don't have events that we can go to. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you to everybody. And thank you not only to the Midrealm, but to all of our wonderful friends who are joining us from kingdoms near and far. Just a reminder, again, that the Ethereal Bardic Symposium is happening this entire weekend, so make sure that you check out the Facebook event page so you can find out what's going on, because there's a lot and I can't tell you it all right here. Also, if you're a good Midrealmer, then you will be attending court tomorrow, as their majesties have called court, which is happening at 2 p.m. Central Time, 3 p.m. Eastern Time. So don't forget that. I believe it will be on the SCA Kingdom of the Middle page as well. So that's it for this evening. Thank you again, everyone, and a huge round of applause, and just have a wonderful rest of your evening. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so
Yay,
much.
you guys did so great. great.
Thank you. It was so good hearing everybody.